Ever felt completely swamped trying to, really get up to speed on something complex fast, like drowning in browser tabs, articles, endless advice, wishing someone could just cut through the noise and tell you what really matters? Well, think of this deep dive as your ultimate shortcut, your way to get genuinely well informed. Today, we're digging into something that could honestly change your whole game if you're into online business. Finding those super profitable niches and keywords for self-publishing books, especially on places like Amazon, KDP. Our main goal here, show you exactly how to make sure your book doesn't just like launch and fade, but actually get seen and sells.
Yeah, the mission today is really clear. We want to give you a solid, step-by-step method, something structured that takes the guesswork out of your self-publishing. It's about turning it into a data-driven strategy, basically.
Finding those sweet spots, high demand but low competition in that huge sea of books. And we're basing this all on a really thorough guide focused specifically on niche and keyword research. It's packed with practical, tested strategies. This isn't just theory, right? It's an actual process you can follow. So let's dive in.
Okay, so before we get too deep, let's just level set on some basic terms, make sure we're all on the same page. Can you quickly walk us through the difference between, say, a niche, a sub-niche, and then the keyword itself?
Absolutely. Think of it like this. The niche is your big, broad category, maybe something like health and personal development.
Hmm.
Then you narrow it down to a sub-niche, which gets more specific. Inside health, maybe it's self-help. And then the crucial part, the keyword. That's the exact phrase someone punches into the Amazon search bar when they're actively looking for a book, like typing in time management techniques.
And it's wild how important those keywords are. They're pretty much everything in self-publishing, aren't they? They're the gatekeepers. Get them right, and your book can genuinely sell itself through what's called organic traffic, meaning people find it without you needing to spend a dime on ads. Which leads us right to the biggest mistake, the most common error we see beginners make. They pick really creative, maybe unique words for their titles or descriptions, but they're words nobody actually searches for. It's like having an amazing product but hiding it where no one looks. The book could be genius, but zero discovery means zero sales. Simple as that.
And that's exactly why this AAE method is so useful. It's the core framework for our deep dive today, and it's actually pretty straightforward. It breaks down into three main phases. First, A for accumulate, gathering all those potential keyword ideas. And then the second A is for analyze, where you really dig into whether they're likely to be profitable. And finally, E for elect, choosing the absolute best ones for your specific book. The original source uses Spanish terms accumula, analisa, elege, but we'll stick with accumulate, analyze, elect for clarity.
And what's really powerful about the AAE method is how flexible it is. You can totally use it if you've got a budget for tools, maybe something like KDSPY, which gives you really precise data. Or if you're starting out with zero budget, you can do a completely manual analysis. Both ways work. Our source even lays out specific templates for both approaches, which is super helpful.
Okay, this is where it starts getting really practical and honestly kind of exciting. How do you actually start gathering these keywords? Well, the number one place, the most reliable source, Amazon's own bestseller list. This isn't guesswork. It shows you what people are actually buying right now. Just remember that what's selling on Amazon.com might be different from Amazon.es or other marketplaces. So tailor your search. And for this specific method, we're laser focused on nonfiction. Books that solve a real problem, teach a skill, or, help the reader transform somehow. Fiction's a whole different ballgame for discovery. Our source points to 6 proven high-demand niches to get you started. Economy, business, health, family, personal development, home, crafts, lifestyle, IT, internet, digital media, science, technology, medicine, and cooking, beverage, hospitality.
Right. And to pull out those keywords, you can actually use AI tools now, like ChatGPT. Give it specific prompts to find main keywords, secondary ones, and those really valuable long-tail keywords. Long-tail keywords are those longer, more specific phrases, like maybe how to overcome anxiety after losing a job. They often show much clearer buying intent. Also look for patterns in the titles of the bestsellers in your niche. Do words like Bible, guide, formulate, or secret pop up a lot. Those signal solutions. And crucially, you got to check if these keywords are, well, current. Use Google Trends, check social media buzz. Is this something people care about now? Most importantly, does the keyword signal purchase intention? Is the searcher looking to solve a problem, achieve something specific, or are they just, casually browsing? Big difference.
Okay, so some real practical tips while you're in this gathering phase. Definitely read the titles, subtitles, covers closely, but, and this is important, do not just copy titles. Your aim is to pull out the core keyword. So if you see Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the keyword isn't the title. It's something like financial education or personal finance. Also, definitely explore the subcategories within those main niches. Go deeper. That's often where you find the hidden gems, the keywords with way less competition. And remember, at this stage, accumulate without judging. Don't worry yet if it's profitable, just get the quantity. Set yourself a goal. Maybe aim for at least 100 keywords to start, but ideally you'd push for 300, maybe even 500 in one focused session. And seriously, don't feel like you need to be an expert on the topic itself. You're just detecting what other people are searching for. It's more about observation.
Okay, so you've got your big list of keywords. Now comes the really critical part, the analyze phase. Phase 2. We're basically looking at two core metrics, high demand and low competition. For high demand, we look at the average BSR, that's bestseller rank, for the top 20 books that show up for that keyword. The original AAE rule suggested an average BSR between 0 and 30,000 means good demand. 30,001 to maybe 39,999 is moderate, and over 40,000 is low. Quick tip here. It's usually smart to toss out one or two extreme outliers books with crazy high or low BSRs before you calculate that average. Gives you a cleaner picture. Then for low competition, you look at the average number of reviews for those same top 20 books. The original AE rule here was 0 to 60 reviews means easy competition. 61 to 100 is moderate, and over 100 is considered difficult, though, not always impossible.
Okay, BSR. We've mentioned it, but it can still feel a bit abstract for someone new to this. Can you just give us the plain English? Like, what does a low BSR really mean for sales? And why is finding that low BSR, low review combo such gold for indie authors?
Yeah, absolutely. Think of BSR like a live sales ranking. Lower number equals more sales right now. A book ranked #1 is selling like crazy today. A book at #500,000, barely selling at all. And here's a common mistake. Assuming more reviews always means better current sales. Not true. A book might have tons of old reviews, but a terrible BSR if it stopped selling recently. So the anomaly, the gold you're searching for, is finding a keyword where books are selling well now. That's a low average BSR. But where there isn't a ton of established competition, that's the low average reviews. That's the sweet spot. That's where you, as an indie author, can jump in and actually make an impact without fighting against publishing giants with thousands of reviews already. Now, if you are using a tool like KDSPY, you need to know what data to really focus on. It's BSR average, review average, and average price. Generally pretty reliable. But those estimated income and monthly sales numbers, not so much. Don't base your decisions on those. Stick to the core metrics. And here's a really important update, especially thinking about 2025 and beyond. The market has changed a lot in the last 4 years.
Way more books, more authors, reviews everywhere. So those original AAE thresholds, they might be a bit too strict now, might make it really hard to find anything that fits. So we suggest some updated, more reasonable thresholds for today. Maybe an average BSR up to 50,000, possibly even 60,000 is acceptable now. And for reviews, maybe an average up to 100 or even 120 if you know you'll have a great cover and maybe some ad spend behind you.
That makes a lot of sense. The landscape definitely feels more crowded, but does relaxing those thresholds mean we're settling for less profit? Or is it more about being realistic about where indie authors can actually compete today?
That's a great question. It's not about lowering standards, really. It's about being pragmatic. In today's market, sticking rigidly to those old numbers might mean you overlook perfectly viable, profitable niches where you can actually get traction. By adjusting slightly, we're just opening up more realistic opportunities. It's about finding viable growth, not chasing some unattainable perfect niche that maybe doesn't exist anymore or is incredibly rare. And this helps explain why sometimes KDSPY's own potential or competition indicators might show yellow, even if a niche fits our updated criteria. The AAE method, especially with these updates, is really tactical for indie authors. KDPY gives more of a broad global view, which might factor in big publishers more heavily. This whole analysis thing, though, whether you use software or do it manually, brings up a really key point.
Yeah, exactly. The question I think a lot of indie authors wrestle with, when you're sizing up the competition for a keyword, does it really matter if the top books are self-published or from big traditional publishing houses? Why is that distinction so important?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. Because it tells you who your real competition is. Big publishers. They have huge budgets, maybe famous authors, established marketing machines. As an indie author, your main battlefield is usually against other indie authors. Seeing other self-published books doing well, low BSR, not too many reviews, maybe even simple covers, that's a massive green light. It shows there's space for you. It also stops you from misinterpreting demand. You might see a book with a great BSR, but maybe it's because the author was just on TV or has a massive existing platform. That success isn't necessarily replicable just by writing a good book in that niche. You need to see if indies are succeeding.
Okay, so practically speaking, how do you spot a self-published book on Amazon?
It's usually pretty easy. Look in the book's product detail section. You'll often see independently published right there. Sometimes you might see a foreign equivalent like Auto Edition if you're on a different marketplace, or simply the author's own name listed as the publisher instead of a known publishing house name.
Right. So are there times when an indie author can actually go head-to-head with the big guys?
Yes, definitely. It's possible under certain conditions, like if there's clearly high demand for the topic, but very few specific current books addressing it well, maybe the big publisher books are outdated or too general, that's an opening. Targeting specific sub-niches is key too. A big publisher might do a general book on, say, financial education, but you could target financial planning for gig economy workers or something very specific they wouldn't touch. And honestly, big publishers can sometimes be slow or their Amazon SEO isn't great. You can be more agile, optimize your listing better. But when should you not even try? If the top 10 results are all famous authors with thousands of reviews, or every single book is traditionally published with super polished marketing, probably best to steer clear. That's playing on hard mode.
And if you are going the manual route, analyzing without software, any key tips to stay effective?
Yeah, definitely. First, define clearly what profitable looks like for you in this manual search. So the source suggests looking for at least 5 relevant books with a BSR under 30,000 and maybe under 100 reviews. Use Amazon's filters. Filter by department, books, language, and crucially, filter to show only available products. Cleans up the results a lot. And use a spreadsheet. Seriously. Document each keyword, its average BSR, even if estimated manually, average reviews, and your own assessment may be a simple re-yellow-green system. It takes discipline, no doubt. It's free, but you have to be patient and manually check each promising book.
Okay, so we've gone through accumulate, then analyze. Now, the final step, phase 3, elect, making that smart choice. How do you pick the winner?
So the first thing is to shift your mindset slightly. Don't just think about this one book. Always try to consider if your first book could be part of a potential compilation or a series down the line. Thinking like this from the start helps with scaling later, it makes marketing easier, builds your authority faster, and opens doors for things like KDP Select Bundles, where you package books together. It's just a smarter long-term view.
Gotcha. So beyond that strategic view, what are the key things to look at when you're making that final selection from your analyzed list?
Okay, number 1, apply those profitability criteria rigorously. Demand, competition, quality of what's already there. That comes before anything else. Number 2, and this is absolutely critical, non-negotiable, you must avoid keywords that are registered trademarks. Don't even think about using terms like Thermomix, Excel, Fortnite, or any brand name in your title or keywords if you don't have permission. It's a fast track to getting your KDP account shut down. Permanently. Always verify. Use official sites like the USPTO for the US or global search tools like Marcaria.com. Check first. Seriously. Then, practically, just start small. Choose maybe 1 or 2 keywords that look the strongest based on your analysis. Don't try to do 10 books at once. It helps to group your analyzed list. Put them into maybe 3 buckets. Yes, these look great, ready to go. Perhaps viable, maybe for a later book. And no, not profitable enough, or it's trademarked. And if possible, try to prioritize topics where you have some genuine passion or knowledge. It just makes the research and writing process so much easier and usually results in a better book, which helps sales too. Definitely keep that perhaps list safe somewhere. Those could be your next few book ideas. Also, commit to the process. Try to research at least 100 keywords fully before you make your final choice. The more options you properly analyze, the better your chances of finding a real winner. And one last strategy to consider, compilations. Combining 2 related, maybe shorter books into one single, more valuable book, it can boost conversions and sales, often for very little extra work.
Wow, okay. That was definitely a deep dive. We've really laid out a full framework here, the AAE method, turning what feels like guesswork into a proper, data-driven way to find publishing opportunities on KDP. No more just throwing ideas out there and hoping, right? This gives you a clear path to finding those niches that are actually waiting for a good book.
Exactly. And understanding those updated thresholds for 2025, really getting BSR and reviews, how they interact, that's the key. It really is about spotting that anomaly, isn't it? Finding that sweet spot where demand is solid, but the competition is still manageable. That's where indie authors can genuinely build something successful.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. What's that one problem you've always kind of wanted to help people solve? Could it be that the solution you have in mind is actually a highly searched, underserved niche just waiting on Amazon?
Yeah.
Maybe start exploring with these new eyes, this new framework. You might just stumble upon your next big thing.